I'm Christina and I'm a crochet designer, and I love to share my crochet designs and tutorials and all sorts of other amigurumi fun here on my channel, Tiny Curl. Today, I'm going to show you how to make this little olive. She has a butt, she has a heart, she has bead eyes, she has cute cheeks. This pattern is so easy to make. It's perfect for beginners. And you can make it with any size yarn you want. I used DK weight, but you could use fluffy yarn and a bigger hook to get a bigger olive. But I just love how cute and tiny she is. I have made so far 1, 2, 3, 4, oh god, 5, 6. And then I have 2 other ones that are just waiting for limbs. But they're so addictive to make because they're so fast and simple and use very little materials. And I made them with hearts so that you could give them as Valentine's or like a super sweet like love gift with like a little tag that says olive you for your olive loving friends. So if you want to learn how to make her, then keep watching. To make olive, you will need a green and red lightweight or DK weight yarn. I'm using amigurumi DK. I really love this yarn for making amigurumi. And I'm using the colors pea green and red. A 2.75 millimeter crochet hook. I really love these Clover Amour hooks. They're really comfortable to use. Some toy stuffing, a lot more than this because it squishes down. This is the Fairfield Polyfill stitch marker. I love these Clover ones because they pull out really easily and they don't leave holes in your work. You'll need 2 6mm beads or 6mm safety eyes. I really like the beads because they kind of pop off of the face and are super funny. I linked this set that I got off Amazon in the description because it has a really great assortment of sizes. So it has all the way from 3mm to 8mm. To attach the eyes, you're going to need some black sewing thread and a sewing needle. You'll also need some black embroidery floss for the mouth. You'll need a tapestry needle to attach pieces and weave in your ends. And the difference between a sewing needle and a tapestry needle is that the tapestry needle has a duller point and it has a bigger hole so that you can fit your yarn through. Of course, you'll need scissors. I love these Ginger stork scissors because it looks like the stork is biting off the yarn with its beak. That's essential. And then finally, if you want to give your olive some cute rosy cheeks, you'll need a blush and a brush to apply the blush. Grab your materials and we'll get started on olive. To start olive, I'm using the body color in my green and my hook. So for round 1, I'm going to start with a magic ring. So to make a magic ring, I use my left hand because I crochet with my right hand. And so my left hand will be my yarn holding hand. I drape the tail over my fingers, wrap it around, and make an X, kind of pinching it with my thumb. Then I take my hook and go under the first yarn and over the second and pull up a loop. So now I have a really loose loop on my hook, and I reposition the circle to face me. And now I pinch kind of everything that I was making with my hook holding hand, which is my right hand, and I'm going to hold my yarn with my left. So I drape it over my pinky finger and over my index finger like that. I like to wrap it to give it a little bit more tension. And so now I just tightened the loop that was kind of hanging over my hook, and we're going to chain 1. So you notice I'm pinching my magic ring. I'm going to go yarn over from back to front and pull that through the loop that was on my hook. So now I've chained 1. Now I'm going to go ahead and single crochet 6 into the center of my ring. I kind of pull the tail to tighten it and make it more manageable. So I insert my hook, yarn over, pull through the center of my magic ring. So now I have 2 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over again and pull through both loops on my hook. That's 1 single crochet. Now I'm going to make 5 more into the center of my magic ring. So now that I have 6 in my magic ring, I'm going to pull the tail, making sure that it's going straight to close the ring. So now we're ready to start round 2. So for round 2, I'm going to start in the first single crochet from my previous round. And I'm going to do 2 single crochets in this first stitch. It's called a single crochet increase or just an increase. So I'm going to put my first one in, yarn over, pull through the stitch, yarn over, pull through both loops on my hook. And I'm going to pause here and mark the first stitch of my round so that I don't get confused. Okay, so in the same stitch that I just put that single crochet, I'm going to put another single crochet. So now I have 2 single crochets in that first stitch, and that's my increase. So I'm going to keep doing increases all the way around. Okay, that's the end of round 2, and if you want to make sure that you got the right amount, you can always count your stitches. Each stitch is this little V on the outside of the circle. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And that's how many you want to have at the end of round 2. So for round 3, we're going to single crochet 1, increase 1, and do that set 6 times around. So I'm going to put 1 single crochet in the first stitch, and in the second stitch I'm going to increase by putting 2 single crochets in that stitch. Now I'm going to repeat that all the way around. So 1 single crochet in the next one, then increase, 1, increase, all the way around. After round 3, you should have had 18 stitches. And so in the written, you will see in parentheses 18 stitches, and that's how many you need at the end of each round. So for round 4, I'm going to stagger the increases. So instead of doing single crochet 2 and then increase, I'm gonna do single crochet 1, increase, single crochet 1. And this really helps to make the shape rounder and not as boxy. But you're still putting two single crochets between each increase. You're just gonna end with 1 single crochet. I hope this makes sense. So I'll do the first 2 sets with you. Single crochet 1, now I'm going to increase by putting 2 single crochets in the next stitch. Oops. And now I'm going to do 1 single crochet. So that's the set that I'm going to do 6 times around, but as you can see, I'm going to do 1 single crochet. So there are 2 single crochets between the increases, but this just makes it so that you end with 1 and start with 1. So I'm gonna increase and do 1, and then keep repeating around. And round 5, the set is single crochet 3, increase 1, 6 times around. So I'll do the first one with you. Single crochet 3. So I single crocheted 1 in the first stitch, 1 in the second stitch, 1 in the third stitch, and now I'm going to increase. And keep doing that all the way around. For round 6 through 16, I'm going to single crochet around and just keep going around and around. And the way that I do it without having to keep placing my stitch marker is I just do a single crochet and then I place the stitch marker in one of the legs of the stitch. So I know that that was my first stitch of that round. and then it makes it easier to count the rounds down. So pause here and single crochet around for 11 rounds, and then we'll keep going. So I just finished round 16. So I've done 11 rounds of single crocheting around, and I count my rows like this, or my rounds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then this was the first stitch of round 6, and then I just whoop, follow it all the way up. So this is the first round of my first stitch of my next round. So I'm going to move my stitch marker up. So for this round, we're going to do 3 single crochets and then 1 invisible decrease. So I will show you how to do the invisible decrease slowly. So I'll do my 3 single crochets first. 1 I already did, 2 and 3. And now I'm going to do my invisible decrease. So this is what makes the piece get smaller and close. I'm going to insert my hook into the front loop of the next 2 stitches. The front loop is the one that's closest to me. If you look at the top of the stitch, you can kind of see the V. The front loop is just the front of that V, and I'll show you now. So I just pick up that stitch, and then I kind of angle my hook to pick up the next one. So now I have 3 loops on my hook. I yarn over and go through the first 2 loops, and then I finish my single crochet yarning over and through the next 2 loops. So that's combined those 2 stitches into one now. So I'm going to do 3 single crochets again and an invisible decrease. So after that round, you should have 24 stitches. And now if you're going to be using safety eyes, you're going to want to do that now. So you want to place the safety eyes between rounds 8 and 9. I'm not going to do safety eyes, I'm going to do the beads, so I'm going to show you how I do my face after we're done with the body. But if you do want to do safety eyes, put your safety eyes between rounds 8 and 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this would be between round 8 and 9, and then just 7 stitches apart. And I'm now going to stuff my olive. So I'm just taking my toy stuffing a little bit at a time. And going slowly. I like to stuff it pretty firmly because I think that makes the best shape. So I'm just stuffing it enough so that it doesn't poke out and won't interfere with the next rounds that I'm going to do. The next round is single crochet 1, invisible decrease 1, single crochet 1. So I'm splitting the single crochets up again because it just gives a better shape. But there's going to be 2 single crochets between each invisible decrease. So I just did 1 single crochet. Now I'm going to invisible decrease. And then I'm going to do another single crochet. So that's 1 set. I'm going to start again. 1 single crochet, 1 invisible decrease, and 1 single crochet. Okay, now that I've finished round 18, I'm going to start to define the booty cheeks. And the way that I do that is that I'm going to treat this stitch marker kind of where I envision the butt crack to go. So first I'm going to just take my pointer finger and like push against the stitches to like make this a little bit stretched out. So already you're seeing a little definition here. And so now I'm going to do that on the other side. So now I'm going to take some stuffing and I'm going to just make a ball, a kind of a thicker stuffing ball that I'm going to stuff into that pocket. The stuffing ball should be maybe like 1/2 inch to 1 inch in diameter, and then I'm just going to stuff this right into one of the pockets that I just made with my finger. And do that on the other side. And then once I got those in place, I'm gonna just keep stuffing the center of the olive. And I use my hook to kind of push everything where I want it to go and keep stuffing. So I'm gonna stop there until I do my next round, which is single crochet 1, invisible decrease 1. So single crochet 1, place my marker, invisible decrease 1. And then keep doing that 5 more times around. For the last round, we're going to invisible decrease 6 times around. So just and I'm not going to put my stitch marker back because I find that it gets in the way as I'm doing this last round, but just remember and count so that you do the right amount. So that was 1. And then to finish, I'm going to do 1 slip stitch in the next stitch, which is insert, yarn over, pull through, and then pull through the loop on the hook. And now I'm going to tie a knot by yarning over, pulling through, and then I'm gonna leave like about a foot of tail. So I'm gonna just keep pulling, like 10 inches, I would say. And then cut the end, and then I'm gonna use this tail to make the butt crack. If you don't wanna make the butt crack, just close it up, which is what I'm gonna do now, by threading my tapestry needle, and I'm going to go around all of the 6 final stitches from in to out through the front loop of the stitch. So I'm inserting it kind of just in the middle of the stitch and out, in and out, all the way around until I've done 6. And then I'm going to pull it tight to close that hole. So I'm gonna like feel around and find where I put those little pockets, and I see that they're right there. So I'm going to, this is to make the butt happen. If you don't want to do that, then just insert your hook in the center of that hole that you just closed, poke it out another spot, and then weave it through a few of these stitches. But I'm going to make the butt. So I'm going to insert it into the center and pull it up about this round. Oops. Which is round, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, under round 12. And I'm going to just kind of draw it down like that, back into the center. And up again through that same hole. And then before I pull to tighten it, I'm gonna kind of like poke my nail where I want it to sit between these stitches. So you can kind of see where it's already sitting. So I'm just kind of indenting it so that it knows where to go. And pull, massage, pull. And that's how you define the little booty. If you notice that it's puckering, you can get your scissor or something else strong to just kind of like pull out the bottom, but still keeping the tension where you want it. So it's a little less dimpled at the bottom. I've done 1. I'm going to do 1 more to secure it, but I'm not really going to pull that much harder. Just want to make sure that that's going to stay tight. So I'm going to insert it back into the center and bring it up another part of the body. So I just tighten it just as much as the other one is already tightened. And then I'm going to thread the needle through several stitches like that, pull through, and then I'm going to go up in this kind of little piece of the stitch and go through another part. And that's secure enough for me. And so I insert it again, bringing it out another part. And now is when I will cut the yarn tail. So I kind of pull it, making sure I'm not going to cut the piece, and I just snip it. And once you massage the piece again, it kind of just like goes back in. So I've got my red yarn, I've got my hook, and now we're ready to make the pimento. The pimento is just rounds 1 through 3 of the body, so it's going to be super simple. Drape over, make an X, under, over, pull up a loop, reposition, chain 1 by yarning over, pulling through, and now we're going to single crochet 6 into the center of our ring. The next round is increase 6 times around. When I go around, I don't think I mentioned this with the body, but when I go around the second round, I like to go over my yarn tail so I don't have to weave it in. So insert, and I kind of like drape the yarn tail over. Do 2 single crochets in that first stitch. Now I went ahead and tightened the magic ring after I did that first stitch. Grab my handy dandy stitch marker. Do 1, 2, whoop, spinning. So for the final round, I'm going to single crochet 1 and increase 1. I stop crocheting over the yarn tail after the second round. So I single crocheted 1 and I'm going to increase 1. And I'm going to keep doing that 6 times around. So I finished round 3 and now I'm just going to take the stitch marker out, do 1 slip stitch by yarning over, pulling through and pulling through the loop on your hook, and then making a knot. And I'm going to give it like a foot, 12 inches of tail so that I can attach it and pull that out. I'm gonna leave this and just tuck it in under to kind of like make it a little bit stand up, kind of stuff it a little bit on the top of the olive. Now I'm going to show you how to make the arms and legs. I have 2 different options for making the arms and legs. You can make an I-cord, which is what this one has. I find that it gives the legs and arms a little bit more structure and helps them stay straight. Or if you don't want to make an I-cord, you could chain for the legs and arms. So you might have to block these, which just means wetting them and kind of pinning them down and straightening them so that they stay straight. Just depending whatever you find easier, you can do. So I'm going to show you first how to make the I-cord. To start the I-cord, you start with a slip knot on your hook. So to do that, I just wrap around my fingers, go under the first line and over, just like we were starting our magic ring, but instead of keeping the loop, I just pull everything tight. So now I pull, and that puts a slip knot on our hook. So now I'm going to chain 3 by yarning over, pulling through, yarning over, pulling through, yarn over, pull through. Now I'm going to put 3 loops on my hook. So I'm going to insert my hook into the second chain, yarn over to bring up a loop. And again in the third one, insert into the last chain, yarn over, and bring through. So now I have 3 loops on my hook. So you're going to do 7 rows of I-cord to make the arm. So I slip the last 2 and pinch them so I don't lose it. And I kind of fold it and yarn over and pull through to chain. Now I put the second loop that I already made on my hook, yarn over and pull through. And the third one, insert, yarn over and pull through. So now I have 3 loops on my hook again, and I've made 1 row of I-cord. So I'm going to repeat that 6 more times. I'll do it again slow, and then I will finish it. So I slip the 2 loops off my hook. I kind of like round it and pinch it because this is the shape I'm going for. Yarn over, pull through, insert, yarn over, pull through, and I'm pinching the last loop with my finger so I don't lose it. Insert into the loop, yarn over, and pull through. So keep going with that for 5 more rows, and I'll meet you when I'm done with that. When you get to the end, you just need to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops, and then yarn over again to make a knot and pull through. And then tighten it up, and that's the finished I-cord. It's kind of tough to get the tension right when you're first doing them, but after a few practices, you should get it right. And this is what it looks like. So now I'll show you the chain option for the limbs. To do the chain option, I'm going to start with a slip knot on my hook. So I make the X, under, over, and then I just tighten everything onto my hook. For the arms, I need 7 stitches, so I'm gonna chain 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And now I'm going to flip the chain over and find the back bumps of the chain stitches. So you can see on the back of the V's, there's this kind of little bump. So I'm going to insert my hook into the second one from my hook. So you could see the first one here. I'm going to go into the second one here. So I insert, yarn over, and make a single crochet. Now I'm going to go into the second one, into the bump, single crochet. And then I'm going to just finish this off by yarning over and pulling through the loop, tightening it up and kind of repositioning it. So this is what it should look like. So now we're going to make the heart. I'm going to use a bigger hook, the D 3.25 millimeter, just to make it less tight. So you start with a magic ring, make that X, insert, under and over, pull up that loop, chain 1 by yarning over and pulling through. And now into the center of my ring, I'm going to make all of the stitches that make up the heart. So I'm going to start with 2 half double crochets. To make a half double crochet, I yarn over, insert into the loop, into the magic ring, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops on my hook. So that's 1 half double crochet made. I'm going to make another one now. So now I have 2 half double crochets, and I kind of push them over as I go to make sure they're all sitting correctly. I'm going to make 2 single crochets now. Now I'm going to make a half double crochet. 2 single crochets, 2 half double crochets, I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to slip stitch into the center. And then yarn over, pull through. And then I'm going to cut my tail, tighten, and then I'm going to tighten the ring with the starting yarn tail to pull the heart together. And I kind of just pull this piece back as I'm forming it. Kind of have to pull a little bit hard. And I'm also pinching the bottom of the heart to kind of like make that more pronounced. I'm going to weave in just one of the tails, and then I'm going to use the other tail to attach to my olive. So go ahead and weave in one of the yarn tails and then meet me back and we'll attach all of the pieces. Grab your sewing thread and your sewing needle or embroidery needle. So I'm going to thread my needle, and I like to double up, which is why I make it so long. So it's about 2 feet long total, and then I double up. So now I'm ready to sew on my bead eyes. I have my 6mm beads here. So I'm gonna go in through the top. The only thing you have to know that's important for placing the eyes is to make the center centered with the booty crack. So I kind of like trace forward like that just to get an idea. So that's the center of the front. And you place the eyes between rounds 8 and 9. So I count from the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So between these 2 rounds. And because this is the center and I want 7 stitches between my eyes, I'm going to count 3 on each side. So 1, 2, 3. So I want my eye to just go right in here. Sit in this little like pocket right here, and then we'll count again after we do the first one. So I'm going to take my, now that I know where I want to put it and I'm kind of remembering, we're going to go in through the top, and what you want to do is go between a stitch and come out, making sure that I get through a stitch so that the knot is kind of hidden back there. So like that, and pull it through until it kind of comes right here. So the knot is right behind here. Now I'm ready to thread my bead onto my sewing thread. And you kind of want the bead to sit right where the safety eye would sit in this little pocket. So I'm gonna insert my needle through a stitch on the other side of that little hole and back through the stitch that I came out of, like that. So I'm going to keep going through the bead several more times so that it's just more secure. So I did it 3 times and that's secure enough for me. So now I'm going to use the same thread to attach the other one. Just want to make sure it's tight. It's kind of loose, so I'm going to hold it there and pull the thread. So now I'm going to count 7 stitches that way, and that's where I'm going to put my second eye. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So right here is where that next eye is going to go. I'm going to remember that spot, kind of hold it there, and I'm going to bring my needle out So I'm going to do the same exact thing in this little pocket right here. So I'm going to attach the eye and then come back and show you how I fasten it off. So I've attached the second bead, and now I'm going to insert, just like I did with the last one, when I know I've attached it enough, I'm going to insert it and bring it up through the top where I know that the pimento will cover anything that I knot up here. So just pulling it tight, make sure everything's where you want it to be. And then I just grab a little piece of the yarn up here and then kind of bring up a loop like that, insert my needle twice, and make a knot. Just a normal knot. And I'm gonna do that one more time, and that will be secure. And I'm not worried about hiding it because I know that the pimento is gonna cover it. Now I'm ready to embroider the face on. I have the same needle. It's an embroidery needle, so the floss will fit through the eye. I have all 6 strands of black embroidery floss, and it's about a foot long, 12 inches, and I'm just gonna thread that and double knot the end. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna come out, I'm gonna go in between stitches, and the mouth is gonna be on round 9, and it's gonna be a little more than 3 stitches wide. So I'm gonna kind of like gauge the center. So we know we have 7 here. So if there's 2, 2, and then 3 in the middle, just gonna bring it out like on this part right here. And pull until the knot is behind it. And then I'm gonna go over these 3 stitches and insert there and bring it out the top. Super easy. So he's kind of a little sad guy. So I'm gonna pull the thread and try to make it so that it's gonna sit comfortably there. You can also use a little bit of super glue if you really want to keep his smile poppin'. It doesn't bother me too much when he goes sad. And I'm kind of holding the mouth while I pull, and I want to hold it while I'm tying this knot as well. So I'm going to do the same thing I did with the sewing thread, go through a little part of the stitch, insert twice, and knot. For this one, I'm gonna do kind of like how when we weave in the yarn end, go through a different part and cut it like that. I'm gonna do the blush after I attach all the pieces because I don't want the blush moving around anywhere. And so now our olive has a cute little face. So now we're going to attach the pimento. Grab your tapestry needle and thread it with the tail. And the placement's super easy because you're just going to place it right over the top 3 rounds. So just those 3. I'm just lining up the centers and kind of seeing where it wants to lay to see where I want to insert my needle. I insert between the stitches and come up the next stitch. Come up between the next stitch. I insert my needle from back to front through the entire stitch. Thread it like that. And then I go directly into the stitch I came out of and up through the next one. And then just keep doing that all the way around until I get back to the start. You'll notice that there's a point where it doesn't make sense for you to keep following this line because when we're crocheting, it's kind of a spiral. It's not going to be a perfect circle. So at that point, after you sew through the pimento, you're gonna wanna jump back to the round that you were working on before. So just like this. So go back up around and keep going around and it'll sort itself out. So I made it back all the way around and then you just want to weave in your end. And I like to go through the same color. So I just go back up through the red. Okay, I have my arms, legs, and heart, and I've placed with my sewing pins where I want them to go. So I put it 3 stitches from the eye and 1 round down for the arms, and then I did it below the 6th round from the mouth for the legs with 5 stitches in between. I'll show you how to do one of the arms and then I'll attach the rest of the limbs and the heart. So I have my arm, I'm going to thread the end with the tapestry needle and I'm using the ending tail. So I'm going to remove the sewing pin. And I also want to make sure there's kind of, if you see on the eye cord, there's like a part that's a little bit more open. I want to make sure that that's toward the body. So I just go under that round and I'm going to poke through my eye cord and then go through the body again under that round and through the arm again. And that's tight enough for me. Weave in this end. I'm going to attach where I want the arm to be. So I kind of want it to be right at the end of the mouth. And I'm going 1 round down. So this is where I attached the beginning. And so I'm going to come just 1 round under. Same thing as I did for the other side. Just under the round, insert it into the eye cord. Do that a couple times. So I'm going to attach the other arm and the legs. The only difference with the legs is that you're attaching this way instead of over around. Okay, I've attached both arms and both legs, and I'm going to just show you quickly how to weave in this ending tail if you're using the eye cord. If you're using the single crochet, then both of your ending tails will be on one side. Thread my tapestry needle and I'm going to go in through the bottom to kind of hide that ending knot. So I'm going to follow this yarn just all the way through. So under here and then under here, kind of like lacing a shoe. And under here. And I'm also holding the end so that I'm not pulling it and warping the shape of the leg. And then I'm going to just insert it into the body and I'm gonna weave in the end. Again, I don't want to pull too hard, so I need to hold this leg, stretch it so that it maintains the correct shape. And then I'm just going to weave in this end. And now I'm going to attach the heart between the arms, just like that. So this is super easy. You just thread your tapestry needle and I'm going to weave my tail into the center of the heart, like that. And then just place it on the body. And I'm going to go under the stitch, like that. Make sure it's right side up. I'm going to just go through the center of the heart, tighten it, go back in, and then just bring it up through another part of the body and weave in that end. So the final step is optional if you want to add some blush to your olive. So I'm going to grab my blush and a brush, and I just take a little bit, tap off the excess. And you want to be smart about where you place it because it will not come off unless you wash it. So I'm just gonna like stamp it on just right here. Like that. I kind of want it a little diffuse, so I'm gonna get a little bit more. Stamp it. Like that. I'm gonna do that on the other side. And you're done. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below and subscribe for more super cute patterns. I hope you loved it.